From the moment that life-changing stick revealed its verdict, our journey began. Suddenly, we were entrusted with the monumental task of motherhood. But amidst the joy, fear of the unknown sets in. How do we navigate this uncharted territory? With countless voices ready to guide us, it's easy to feel lost. Hey, I'm Hillary. I'm the founder of Sadler. I'm also a registered nurse and mom of 4. I hope to be your trusted friend who helps guide you through the maze of early motherhood. I'm grounded in medical expertise with a sprinkle of crunchiness, and I'm here to debunk myths and unravel truths. With a dash of type A energy, I promise to leave no stone unturned. Joining me on this adventure is my non-medical older sister, a future mom herself. Together, we'll get into the heart of early motherhood, asking the tough questions and seeking honest answers. So grab a cup of coffee, steal a moment for yourself, and let's dive into the adventure of early momming together. Hey, I'm Hillary.
And hey, I'm Erica, Hillary's big sister.
Welcome to the Early Momming Podcast. Here, you're going to find supportive and candid conversations about the reality of early motherhood. I'm Hillary, your host. I'm also the founder and CEO of Sadler, and I'm a mom of 4.
And I'm Erica, Hillary's big sister, a future mom, and our listeners' non-medical type A ambassador each week. So Hillary, should we get started? I'm so excited.
Yes, I am excited. I've been looking forward to this all day. So just for reference, Erica is on Mountain Time. Is that right?
Arizona time.
I always get confused. Arizona time. I am on Eastern time. So we had to align our schedules, which is hard. But we are excited to be recording this. It's almost 8 p.m., which is usually my bedtime. But it is 5 p.m. for Erica right now.
Oh, well, thanks for staying up late for me, Hillary. I really appreciate that. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, let's jump in because I've been really excited about this. I think that we need to tell our listeners like who we are and why we're here. Why are we sitting in the seats and why do we think that people need to listen to us? So why don't you start and you tell me who are you and what's your background?
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep it brief, which is not my strong suit. I feel like I always say, so long story short, but then it's really like long story, just not quite as long.
Long story long.
Long story long. There we go. So my background is labor and delivery. On our next episode, we are going to go into the details of each of my 4 birth stories. So you'll learn a little bit more about me, where I was as a first-time mom versus like where I was as a 4th-time mom. My youngest is 2, about to be 2. He'll be 2 in July of 2024. And my oldest, it will be 13 in November of this year. But all of that to say, after my first baby, I decided that I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. And so I went to school specifically to become a labor and delivery nurse. I had so many people tell me that's not going to happen. You're going to have to do med surg or you're going to have to do some other specialty before you're going to be able to get in to be labor and delivery nurse. And I don't like it when people tell me I can't do something. It usually makes me work harder to find a way. So I did my very first job as a nurse was a labor and delivery nurse. And I have worked in that kind of specialty my whole nursing career. I have been a nurse for almost a decade, have done labor and delivery, inpatient lactation consultant, mother, baby, postpartum, and just really stuck to that specialty because I just love this season of life so much.
That's great.
I would say, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
I didn't really talk about founding Sadler. Yeah. So Sadler.
Tell me about that. That was my next question. So you were a labor and delivery nurse because they said you can't be that. And so you were. And then you loved it. and what led you to start Sadler?
So I live in the area that I grew up in. So I had my first baby when I was 23, so really young. About probably the last 5 to 6 years, I've had a lot of people that I went to high school with have babies. So I would see them in the hospital and they would realize, oh, this is like what Hillary does. And they'd have my number saved in their phone from high school days. And they'd get discharged home from the hospital and they'd start sending me text messages like, hey, or they found out they're pregnant and they're getting close to their delivery and they're texting me. And I absolutely loved being able to be that support person for them, to be the person that is always available to answer the questions. And really, it's hard when you're in that season. You have your OB provider, your pediatrician, but those appointments are so short. And a lot of times you are kind of given surface level answers, or you're not really given they can't see the full picture because they can't spend a ton of time with you, because of, that's a topic for another day, but just the way that our healthcare system is right now. And so there were so many gaps in information. And the reality is that when you're pregnant, you have a ton of OB appointments, and then you deliver and you go home and you see your pediatrician 3 to 5 days after delivery, and then maybe again at 2 weeks. And then you don't see him until your baby's like 2 months old. And so there's just this huge gap, and there's not a lot of information on feeding, routine, and sleep, and everything that goes on with that. And I'd say there is a lot of information out there on that.
There's a lot of books, but who has time?
There's a lot of books. Well, I have a book. Babies Made Simple is the book,
And it's an easy read, so thank you for that.
But read it during pregnancy, because you're probably gonna have to read the same paragraph 5 times when you're postpartum and you're sleep deprived. So highly recommend reading it during pregnancy. But you need that quick access to information that's searchable and that you can trust and is evidence-based. So Baby Sadler, really, our goal is to be a non-judgy nurse friend for new moms who's always available. And we could, in another day, we could go into like how Baby Sadler was formed. But there was just I felt like there was a huge need for it. So that's kind of why it was started.
So besides staying up past your bedtime at 8 p.m. and having girl time with me without 4 children screaming in the background of our phone conversation,
which they're not usually screaming. It's usually high energy, like, I'm excited to see E-Rock.
Yeah.
Or what?
E-Rock, let me see the phone. Clay, the youngest, is usually like grabbing the phone and like holding it upside down. It's just chaos.
And Ruthie's asking you to buy her Taylor Swift tickets to go to a Taylor Swift concert.
Yes. Or something like that, which, really excites me. So that usually gets our conversation way off track. I love especially when she starts holding up her iPad and playing Taylor Swift songs all the way through. Like it was a new gift to me. That's my favorite. But anyway, she's the best. So besides Girl Talk with Me, uninterrupted, where the kids aren't around, what moved you to create this podcast? Why do you want to do this podcast?
I wanted to kind of provide a unique perspective in this space, because I have a lot of experience working in real life with moms and babies, and I've seen a lot over the years being in private practice. So Baby Sadler has a brick and mortar private practice in Charleston, South Carolina. And just being in the online space, for over 3 years now, I have seen the information that's put out there, and especially for moms like me. So type A, high achievers, want the information, don't accept surface level answers. We really want to know the why behind the recommendations. I feel like and this because we're in the same family, but like we come from a family of medical professionals, right? But that doesn't mean that I agree with everything that group is putting out there. As far as I want to see the evidence, and I want to be able to question it and get to like root cause and challenge things. And so that makes I'm medically grounded, but I'm a little bit crunchy. And I feel like I could say, even like our parents, like, our mom is a nurse practitioner. Our stepdad is retired ER doctor, now family practice. Like, even in the last 2 years, the conversations that I've had with them, I feel like they're even questioning things more than they were a year ago. And that to me feels like a huge win. Not that I'm saying that we abandon Western medicine, because God, that would be terrible. Like, I am so thankful for Western medicine, but I also think that we need to look at health and wellness from a root cause and really look at like preventative medicine, but also this isn't a podcast that's about the healthcare system or medicine. It's just about motherhood and looking for things looking beyond the surface and asking why and being able to be informed consumers of whether that's healthcare or products or whatever things that we're eating or putting on our body or decisions we're making about sleep training or, whatever it is. I want this podcast to talk to other experts who are going really deep and digging deep and bringing us the information that positions us to make really, really informed decisions. Because the truth is, sorry, I'm getting long, but I do have one. I have one last thought.
Go for it.
The truth is that you and I could read the same medical journal. Like you and I could read the same thing.
We would never.
And we might. Well, if we did, we probably would not, because you have me to read it for you.
And I'm not reading a medical journal.
Right. But why? You're not, because you know that I will. And then I won't.
Where do you pick up a medical journal? I don't even know.
There's lots of places. Well, online, PubMed, there's places. But why? But would you, if you didn't have me as your sister? Because think about the things that you've texted me or asked me, or I've helped you find providers that you needed. And like, I've gone and looked at their website and looked at their credentials, and I have scouted them out for you and said, hey, yeah, that person is a good person. Like, if you didn't have me, what would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Highly recommend having you as a sister. 100%.
But that's what I want this podcast to be, is we can't all be sisters, okay? But we can have these real open conversations. But I don't want you to make the choice that I would make. I want you to know the facts, and then I want you to make the choice that feels right to you. And that's really, like, that's the why behind this podcast.
Okay. And I do think that healthcare, although that is not what this podcast is about, it's going to be a reoccurring topic because healthcare is so intertwined with early momming, right? Like, you get pregnant and your body changes, and that has a lot to do with the healthcare of yourself. And then you deliver this human, and that's a whole medical situation. And then you have to keep this human alive and make sure that they're healthy. And healthcare is very much intertwined in the early momming experience. And I think that will be a reoccurring topic, but not the whole topic. Like, we're definitely going to talk about other stuff too.
Yeah, I think I feel so incredibly protective of moms in this vulnerable season, because there's just so many changes, and I really care about how they feel and about their relationships. And really, most importantly, is I care about the story that's being written in their mind, because I know the story that I had in my mind after my first baby and that whole first year. So, yeah. All right. I think did I answer everything?
I think so.
I'm sure I'll go. I really want to introduce you a little bit more so people know more about you. You are going to be our non-medical guest host on the regular, who is really going to bring fresh perspectives to the discussion. And I'm excited about that.
Great. Yeah. And I get to ask my medical journal reading sister about all the things of early momming, which I'm excited. It goes beyond the text messages now and the phone conversations. So
yeah, we tried Marco Polo, but that didn't work. We didn't keep up with that.
Before I talk a little bit about who I am, what I would like to ask you is if you had to describe to a stranger what I do for work, because I can very easily, I have been right beside you through, knowing that you go to nursing school, and like, we have parents in the medical field. And then I was right there, your biggest cheerleader for baby Sadler. So I feel very confident that I know what you do for a living. If you had to tell somebody what I do for a living, I would really love to hear how you describe me.
You're putting me on the spot and asking me this because you know that I am going to totally fail. I'm actually probably going to be able to answer this question way better because of our offsite that we had at the beginning of this year, where I heard you tell people. Okay. So Erica is, let me see if I can get your title right, the director of business development for a company that buys and flips multifamily, not multi, I guess it would be multifamily. They buy and flip properties that have multiple people living in them. And they also manage these properties. So they're so they're investors and property managers.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
And not 100% accurate. Very, very close.
All right. Well, what do you actually do?
So I am the senior director of property management, not business development, for a multifamily real estate company. We own and manage and build ourselves, but we also do third-party management. So if you were an investor of an apartment community, say you bought a big piece of real estate that was an apartment community, you would hire us to come manage for you. So that's what my company does. And then what I do is I help oversee operations in the Southwest. So I travel a lot. My division includes Arizona, where I'm based, Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma. And so that's kind of our like our Southwest division, and I travel quite a bit. And so that's what I do. You were like pretty close.
I got some keywords in there.
Yes, you did.
Multifamily.
You did yes.
Multifamily.
Excellent. Great job. But I think that, I am a hopeful mom. I am not pregnant today. So let's just clear the air on that, because as soon as the podcast was announced, Hillary posted this announcement of the podcast. And it's like, joined by my sister, future mom, Erica, she's going to co-host. I got a flood of text messages. Are you pregnant? No.
Sorry.
Today. That's how rumors get started. But I am a hopeful mom. I've been married for almost 2 years, and we are hoping to have a pregnancy and welcome a baby into the family so that I can have a settled baby in the future. And I am very excited that this podcast is starting. I'm getting to be a part of it, and hopefully it'll run concurrently with, a growing family of mine. So, I think that I have a unique perspective in that I am the non-medical person. I can be the advocate for the listener. I can't tell you how many podcasts I listen to, and I'm like, ask this question. So I hope that I can be that person that thinks of the question, either to you or to our guests. You call yourself type A. I think that I'm type A as well. I don't know how we both ended up this way. I think that I could probably trace it back if I tried, but
I think we could go pretty deep on that one and come up with why. Yes, we won't do that here, but
no, that's maybe when I see you in a couple weeks over a glass of wine. But being type A, I think that I can ask the questions. I think trying to kind of step in and prepare myself. I've already, as Hillary mentioned, texted her a lot of questions. I get a lot of friends that are pregnant or have little ones and ask questions. So Hillary and I are constantly talking about this stuff already. I like to think of myself as a type A aunt to your children.
I would agree with that.
So Hillary has 4 kids, and I welcomed 3 more to my aunthood when I married my husband, Nate, a couple years ago. So I have 7 total nieces and nephews. And, I think that I'm really grateful for the time that I was not a mom while I had your kids as nieces and nephews. I think that that's kind of unique because we are so close in age. I think that when we were growing up, we always kind of expected that we would have kids at the same time. You having a kid at 23 really threw me off because I was like, nah, man, I'm not
ready.
Not ready for that yet. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do that, and I'll check you in a couple years. But it has been one of my greatest blessings, I will tell you, to be a childless aunt to your kids, because I have been able to have so much more quality time with them than if I had my own kids. So I'm really grateful for that. I think that, now I'm at a place where I am ready for my own kids, even though I think Ruth is going to have a big problem, sharing.
Oh, yeah. She was, when she found out you were getting married, she was crying.
She cried.
Remember
because
that?
she thought
Yeah.
that she would lose me.
Not because she didn't want to have Uncle Nate, but because she just, she thought she was losing her childless aunt. Honestly, like that's her perspective, was that she was going to lose you and all the incredible things you guys did. So,
yeah. Well,
but she loves
her wrong.
babies.
Yeah.
And she loves babies. So
Yes.
she will be over the moon.
We just need to get, we'll get her on board as the cousin. So that'll be really good. I'm excited. I'm excited to know probably a lot more by being involved in this podcast when I am ready to start that journey. So I think that what I want to do on the podcast, there's a couple of things. I want to spend time catching up with you, my sister, and having really quality time together. I want to be a non-medical ambassador for our listeners and ask the hard questions. So the silly questions that maybe are kind of maybe embarrassing to ask, because Lord knows I'll ask those too. But I also want to ask the hard questions and then learn as much as I can so that I'm prepared when the time comes that I need this information. So
love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm excited.
Me too. So before we move on, I've got a couple questions for you.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So question number 1. What is your favorite childhood memory of me and you? Or maybe us as a sibling group. There's 4 of us. So there's 4 siblings. It's me, Hillary, our sister Courtney, and our brother Sam. And then we have 3 stepsisters. So it could be at any point in our childhood. What is your favorite memory of us?
Gosh, this is hard. I feel like I should have been prepped for these questions.
Well,
so
that's the point.
Yeah, well, I will say, this is going to sound, I'm just being real here, but I talk to my husband about this all the time. I don't have a lot of memories before like 7th and 8th grade. Like I couldn't really tell you where I went to school. I mean, I know where we lived, but I don't have a lot of really strong memories, which there's a lot in our childhood that, we all have challenges. But anyway, I don't know if that's wrong that I can't. I don't know if there's something wrong with me that I can't remember past that, because my husband can remember like his 5-year-old kindergarten teacher and his best friend in his class.
I literally remember coming down the stairs Christmas morning. This sounds insane. The Christmas morning that you joined the family, it was December 17th.
What? You remember that?
That you were born. So you were a tiny little baby. You come down the stairs. I came down the stairs and I thought, man, I got to share my presents with this kid.
Erica, we're not even 20. We're not even 22 months. We're 21 months apart.
Are
you kidding? Do you actually remember that?
I remember that.
What?
Yes.
All right. So there is obviously something wrong with me.
Past that, but I swear that I remember that. Anyways. Okay,
and that was your favorite memory?
No. That's not my favorite. That was probably like a real big disappointment.
This is not really my favorite disappointment.
I had to share.
This is probably not my favorite memory, but I will share a disappointment, is that I was really scared of sleeping in my own room. Like,
wait, this is your favorite memory?
No, this is just a memory that I have of you from childhood.
Oh,
is that I would sneak in your room in the middle of the night and you would be asleep, and I would crawl in your bed as quietly as I could, and I would slide up to it, and your bed was always against the wall, and so I would like sneak in there and sleep as close to the edge of the wall as possible so you didn't know that I was in your bed, so that I could sleep in there at night. And then in the morning you would be so mad. You would be so mad. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember. I was so pissed. Like, how?
I mean, it was frequent. I did it I did it a lot.
Like 9 times out of 10. 6 days
out
of 7.
I don't know. I wonder how old. So we did, at one point we shared a room, because I remember that. We had twin beds, and we had a comforter that was pink and white striped. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm,
okay. And I remember us sharing a room. And then whenever we moved from that house, we moved a ton. I think the other day we were talking about this. How many places did we live before? At least 10.
I don't know, but I remember the addresses. Like,
I do not remember the addresses.
Yeah.
I remember the houses and things from the houses, but I remember that we moved to we used to share a room, and then we moved and I had my own room, and I could not sleep at night in my own room. So I guess that's a fond memory that you let me do that.
Such things. Yeah.
Yes, that you allowed such things. We grew up riding horses together. And so I have a lot of good memories at the barn and just like,
I'm so scared.
You know what? Oh my gosh. I'm like crying laughing.
Like I know.
I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I feel like I already know.
You know what it is. Okay, so we grew up riding horses. And Erica, when you ride horses at the end of when you're going in for your ribbons, you have to jog your horses to get the ribbons. And Erica
First of all, I won the class, okay?
She did.
I won the class.
She did win the class. So she had already done we did hunter jumpers. So she had already done her jumping. She won the class. So you call them in, they say number,
the winner,
champion. Number 374, you jog in. And I guess the why behind the jogging was to make sure the horse was sound. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why we had to jog in for ribbons.
Yeah. By jogging in, you're running in front of the horse.
Yes, you're running. So the horse is doesn't have their saddle on, but they have their bridle on, and you've got the reins over their head. So you're holding them and you're jogging they're jogging next to you. So Erica goes to jog in and her horse clips the back of her heel and she falls down. She falls down in the ring. And I think my mom and I were standing there and we're like, oh my gosh, look at that girl that just happened to. And we started laughing. Rude. And then we realized it was Erica.
Okay, first of all, why were you guys not paying attention? I just won the class. And y'all are just over there lollygagging.
I don't know. But that is one of my fondest memories.
Thank you. It hurt a lot and it was muddy. So y'all are terrible.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. Moving on from that. I'll get you back for that one. Don't worry. There will be stories to come.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Okay. So question number 2. What do you think was our biggest fight growing up as sisters?
Oh gosh. Probably. Oh gosh. I don't really think we had many fights. I mean, I think you used to get mad about me sneaking in her bed at night. I would often wear your clothes and steal your makeup.
The truth comes out now. So glad you're admitting.
I don't really remember. Did we have a big fight? Do you remember?
No, I think when I was thinking about this, I think that our biggest fight was probably over a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
They were probably my favorite pair of jeans, probably Abercrombie, some sort of flare jeans that I begged to have or got for Christmas or my birthday. And you were probably like, wow, those are so cool. And I was probably
wore them to the barn and wore them at the barn riding horses.
You were horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was kind of, yeah, I was definitely not the best little sister.
Yeah. Well, you were all right. You did all right. You have a chance to redeem yourself because I've got one more question before we move on.
Okay.
So am I your favorite sibling?
Oh my gosh. What if the other siblings are... I know that our other siblings are going to be listening to this.
Okay, well, you don't have to answer it. But
I would say that you and I are the closest siblings.
Okay.
Right? We are in adulthood.
Yeah.
We are the close. I mean, I'm closer to you than I am to any of my other siblings in adulthood.
All right.
But
well, I didn't really mean you to.
Love you, Sam and Courtney.
Yeah.
Love you, Sam and Courtney.
That you had to answer that. I just more or less wanted to give you a redeeming question. But
yeah,
if we need to do a little wink, wink, I got you. I understand who your favorite sibling is. All right, let's get back to business. Okay, business at hand. Now that we've had some fun. Let's discuss kind of what this podcast is going to offer our listeners. Yeah, the outline. How often is this podcast going to be available? Go through the rundown for me.
Yeah, so we are going to do bi-weekly episodes. So every other Monday, 2 episodes a month. I would love to commit to doing more, but I am in this current season of early momming as well. And, got to be realistic. So that's what we're going to do. We promise that we will show up and talk about topics that we know you'll appreciate. So those topics will range from things that might be interesting during pregnancy or baby prep, birth. I think I mentioned earlier, our next episode is going to be my birth stories and just really being transparent about those. We're going to talk about postpartum life, all things baby feeding, including breastfeeding, bottle feeding. We will definitely talk about sleep and the connection between feeding and sleep. I don't know if I mentioned that with baby Sadler, but the baby Sadler's niche and kind of our specialty, our expert information is the connection between feeding and sleep, and how feeding and sleep impact each other. So that's like my passion topic. I love to talk about that, but I promise we won't talk about only that on this podcast. And we are going to be talking about just all things in early motherhood. Really and truly, nothing is off limits.
Okay. So like, what kind of guests are we going to have?
So we plan to have frequent expert guests. So those are going to be credentialed healthcare providers who are experts in their field. And we really promise that you're going to hear from the best of the best. And we are going to make sure that the people we're interviewing on this podcast are willing and able to go deeper than surface level. But we're also going to keep it evidence-based. So we're keeping it evidence-based. If we are sharing things that are our thoughts and opinions and we don't have the evidence to back it up, we will make sure to tell you that. We are also going to constantly be challenging the status quo and making sure that we are digging deep and keeping up with the research, because I can't remember what the number is, but I think there are over like 1 million, it might even be more than 1 million PubMed articles, which I know you don't know what PubMed is, but that's like where all of these medical articles are published. There's like over 1 million published each year, and there's absolutely no way that you can keep up with all of it, that one person could keep up with all of it. So really what that means is that we are really behind what we know based on current evidence and research that's being put out. So we really always need to keep digging and going deeper and making sure that we're talking with the experts in their specialty who actually are keeping up with it, because one person cannot be an expert on everything. It's really important to identify experts in their areas and make sure that you're going to those experts for the most up-to-date evidence-based information.
All right, cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So what about the segments? Tell me a little bit about like some of the ideas that you have. You mentioned that the next episode we're going to release is about your birth stories, which, I've got a lot of anecdotes from those birth stories. So I'll get you back for the previous comments on those stories. But tell us a little bit about what you have planned for the episode.
Okay. So I know that you're very excited about this one. Botox during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. That is a very common question that I get asked, and just
Need
Botox and yep. Also, I'm really excited about talking about why so many moms are actually choosing to combo feed. If you have no idea what combo feeding is, don't worry. We will get into those details. But a lot of moms...
What is that?
Yeah.
Like, what is
combo feeding?
Yeah.
So combo feeding is when there's many different people would define it as something different. There's no like Webster defined what combo feeding is. Essentially, combo feeding is anything that is not exclusively directly feeding your baby from the breast. So if you're giving your baby breast milk, whether you're doing some direct breastfeeds or whether you're putting breast milk in a bottle or you're doing however you're feeding your baby, if you're giving your baby anything that is not directly coming from the breast with direct breastfeeding, to me, that falls into the category of combo feeding.
Got it.
But again, there's a lot of nuance to that, and we will definitely go into that in that episode. Okay. We're going to also talk about...
I've seen that a lot. I've seen that term a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that...
Yeah, combo. Well, yeah, and it's a confusing term because it means something different. For example, some moms think that supplementing means giving formula, right? But supplementing actually means giving your baby volume that's not coming directly out of the breast. So it could be formula, or it could be express breast milk. It could be donor milk. It just means that it is volume that a breastfeeding baby is getting that is not coming directly from the mom's breast into the baby. Like there's some other, so yeah, there's a lot to that. Labor induction, yes or no? Should we be inducing people for labor? Should we not? So I love, my labor nurse heart loves that. I'm looking forward to that conversation. I'm going to bring in an OBGYN to really talk about that. I'm excited about that conversation. Another one that I'm excited about is navigating postpartum as a type A mom. I feel like that is, I can talk about what I've personally experienced, but then also the thousands of moms that I've worked with. I'm excited about that conversation too. And hopefully that will help validate people who are currently navigating postpartum as a type A mom, but also be encouraging to moms who are not yet postpartum, and they can kind of look forward to what, tips, tricks, all those things.
Okay. That sounds really good. I think that, something that I want to mention here too is for our listeners, we have an Instagram account. So Early Momming Podcast is our Instagram, and we will be posting stuff there. We'll probably have polls. You can send us a message on that Instagram if you have something that you're interested in that you think that we should be talking about, or questions that you want us to bring up. So we will put stuff there for you guys to engage with, so that we can tailor these conversations to what, the listeners want to hear about. So
absolutely.
I think, one of the last things before we kind of wrap up this first episode, when we talk about why this podcast, and you and I have talked about this in detail, I think that you talk about wanting to educate and make sure people have the right information. But I think it's also good to kind of flesh out thoughts on the narrative surrounding early motherhood. So maybe you can talk a little bit about your perspective on those common narratives. And I definitely have some thoughts on it too, but you as, Hillary, the RN, the baby settler, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that. I also really think I'm excited. I'm going to share a couple thoughts, and then I want to put it back to you, because I think you are going to have a more common perspective to our listeners, because I'm a mom of almost 13 years. And so I have kind of developed this wall. Like I can't remember, maybe I was saying this to you or one of my other friends, but if I was a first-time mom right now, I cannot imagine being a first-time mom right now in the age of social media and information and everything that's put out there. Like, I have a wall that I've been able to put up because this is my specialty, because I can look at something and be like, that is ridiculous. Or, I'm not having to go search for the information that you might have to go search for. But if I wasn't in this position and I was a first-time mom, it would be really triggering to me, because it seems like the focus is on all of the difficulties, the hardships, losing yourself, basically everything that you're losing when you become a mom, losing sleep, losing your drive and your passion, losing the relationship that you once had with your husband. Like, there's so much information out there on that narrative. And the truth is that obviously there are some things that are not the same when you have a child, but there is so much good. It really does outweigh the hardships. I think the key, though, is if you let it overwhelm you, if you don't seek out knowledge and information, if you don't prioritize sleep, if you don't prioritize some things that we're going to talk about on this podcast, then it could end up being this time in your life that might really negatively affect things in your life, but it absolutely does not have to be that way. You just need to have good information and truth, and you need to really make sure that the information that you're consuming helps position you to really be informed and prioritize the things in your life that are important to you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I think that, me as a non-medical mom wannabe, I'm on this journey of trying to conceive, and I Google a lot, which is probably not what you should do. Like when it's too late, when you're in the bed at 8 p.m. and it's 5 p.m. here and I have a question, I'm like, Google, I can't text Hillary. Yeah. So, I think that that's probably not smart, but it's probably what we do because we're like, oh, no, I can discern the information. Or you get on, Instagram learns your algorithms on your phone and whatever else. So it starts serving you content. And I think that what I have learned in this kind of season of entering motherhood and having more questions about pregnancy or, being a mom or just entering this new era for myself and trying to get information, there's so much out there. And unless you really know what you're looking for, you have a good source of information, you can find any answer that you want. Like,
true. Very true.
You can find the answer that you want to fit your scenario, or you can find really undesirable answers that are going to totally freak you out. But there's not really, I've learned that maybe you're seeing the truth somewhere in the middle, but it's not necessarily readily available to you. So, again, Google searching is not the best thing, but, when I think about getting pregnant, there was a couple months ago, I was like, oh, I think I'm pregnant. Maybe I should stop drinking alcohol. What are the other things that I shouldn't do right now? So I went to my friend Google, and it says that I cannot get massages. I cannot interact with cats. I cannot interact with cleaning products. I cannot exercise. I cannot have a fake tan. No alcohol, no hair dye, no caffeine, and no hot tubs. I'm like, what am I supposed to do while I'm pregnant then? Right? I'm just kidding. No, I know that that's a lot to do.
Yeah, but no, that's...
But I know you're right. That's not all accurate, first of all. But that's just a lot of things that are just inaccurate, but also ridiculous. And that was served up in a Google search, an AI Google search. So, I think that that's really the things you can't do when you get pregnant, you can't do anything fun anymore. That is the narrative that you see. I think
no more charcuterie.
I know. I'm a big wine and charcuterie girl. And my husband jokes because he's I literally have no problem solving abilities when you get pregnant because champagne and charcuterie are the things that we go to when we're having a hard day. And what do we do if those are not available?
Yeah. And here's the thing, here's what you can expect on this podcast. I'm not saying maybe we will do a segment on deli meat, but you yourself need to know the actual risks of eating a very high quality deli meat versus a vegetable that maybe wasn't washed. There's just me as a first time mom, as a first time mom, yes, I avoided the deli meat and the charcuterie. As a third and fourth time moms, no, I ate whatever I wanted to. I mean, I was mindful of things. I was mindful of the quality of things. I enjoyed a glass of wine in my fourth pregnancy. Did I do that in my first pregnancy? Absolutely not. But you're positioned to really look at the absolute risks when you have good information, or you at least know where to get good information. And then you yourself are the one that is best positioned to make informed decisions about what you want for yourself and your family. So I think that's a really good example.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you are worried about or that you've kind of heard?
Yeah. So I talked about pregnancy. So the no fun pregnancy, that is, we're scared of. Number 2, when I deliver a baby, my lady parts are never going to be the same again.
Yeah, that's not true. Not true.
Okay.
I've had 4 babies.
also that I'm
now
gonna
let me make a side note. Highly recommend working with a pelvic floor physical therapist. 100%. That is an absolute must. Definitely postpartum. Highly recommend during pregnancy. But yeah, you need to find we will have one on we will have an episode on that at some point. But if you want your lady parts to be the same again, you need to work with a pelvic floor physical therapist.
I have a lot of questions about that because I heard that your husband's never going to look at you the same if they see a baby come out of you.
We're going to have to do some episodes with some guys, some dads or something. Maybe we can get Luke on here. I don't know that he'll go for it. I have not had that experience with my husband. I have not noticed that with my husband, but I don't know. We might have to ask our listeners that one.
Poll the audience.
Yeah.
All right. So when you breastfeed, this is something else that is like a common narrative. Like when you breastfeed, your boobs will never be the same. Or you can't breastfeed if you have breast implants. And that is if you can figure out how to breastfeed and keep up with breastfeeding.
Breastfeeding is very challenging. I think the good thing is that there are so many options. There are so many options. You can come up with plan A, B, C, and D. Like there's not only one option there's not only one right way to breastfeed. There's a lot of nuance to this thing that you're talking about, breast implants. So that's going to be another episode, but I don't know, as far as your breasts never being the same again, we might have to poll the audience.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. I mean, I would say, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Look forward to that. And then I think, post baby, the narrative, and this is, I think, what probably alarms me the most, because I have been a childless woman for a long time, childless aunt. And my husband and I were in our mid to late 30s, and we have not had to really take care of anything except for ourselves. So the common narrative that we hear from a lot of people, not just social media, but when you have a baby, you're never going to sleep, eat out, or travel again because the baby rules your life. And I know that your life changes, but how disruptive, is it that disruptive in a bad way?
Let me ask you this. Do you think that my babies have ruled my life?
I think some of your babies ruled your life. We'll talk about this more on the next episode, but Boyd did rule your life for a minute.
First baby. Yeah. First baby. Yes. First baby almost 13 years ago.
No.
And maybe Ben. I mean, Ben's almost 9. So yeah, but in the last 5 years, have my babies ruled my life?
No, they haven't.
So highly recommend reading a book. I think it's called Bringing Up Bebe. It's written by a French author, I don't know if it's a French author, but it's about how the French raise their babies. And I remember reading that between my first and second baby, and it was a huge perspective, mindset shift that I thought was super helpful. I will say that you will absolutely sleep 100%. There is a narrative out there that basically says when you're a mom, you're selfish if you want to sleep, or if you prioritize sleep, you're selfish, or this is just part of what it is to sign up to be a mom. It's this is what it is. You should be willing to be chronically sleep deprived. And I do not agree with that. And there is so much evidence that says sleep, good quality sleep, is so important for everyone's mental health, physical health, and especially babies. They need that good quality sleep to have really good brain development. So we will talk about that on another episode. But I think it just changes, and you just have to think about priorities and strategy and really good communication. And you just have to kind of build your village and make sure that you're getting good, accurate information, and then approaching things with confidence and not feeling like you're waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. I think you have to really kind of become the expert as fast as you can, become the expert of your own baby and of your own, tap into your resources, gain knowledge, but then really step into that type A energy, right? Where you're learning as much as you can about everything so that you can make more confident decisions faster.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, I have seen you have 4 babies and these things are not true.
Right.
Not always true. You know, after your first, I think you weren't.
I don't know.
You
My
weren't a
breasts.
nurse.
I don't know if my breasts are the same.
Well, we'll ask Luke that for sure.
I have had. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that he still likes. I mean, this might be getting a little bit TMI, but
too much information.
TMI. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad about them, but they're probably not the same.
Yeah. Well, I know that that's not all true because I've watched you be a mom. I've watched you navigate it 4 times. So there's hope, and I'm just really excited that we can dig in even more on these topics because I think it is really important from a mental standpoint, like the mentality of having a positive attitude and positive influence. And you mentioned this a minute ago, like, you know, create your support team and your village. Like, is this true? Does it take a village to have, you know, a successful pregnancy, delivery, rearing of a child? Like, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I definitely think you need a village, for sure. Whether that is family, friends, resources that you've identified in your area, you're not meant to do it alone. You're absolutely not meant to do it alone. And you shouldn't do it alone, right? But the hard thing in today's world is that everyone wants to help moms and babies, whether it's a brand or a company. I know here in the Charleston, South Carolina area, you know, every day there's a new lactation consultant that has started her own private practice. But when you actually look at their credentials, they've taken a week-long certified lactation counselor course, and now they're calling themselves a lactation consultant. Just for reference, like I'm an IBCLC, which is an international board certified lactation consultant. You have to have over 1,500 hours of documented hands-on experience working with another IBCLC in real life with moms and babies, like getting that clinical experience. Plus you have to have college level science courses. Plus you have to take a exam that's only administered twice a year to be able to become an IBCLC. Do you want to work with the person that took the week-long course as your lactation consultant, or do you want to work with the IBCLC as your lactation consultant? Yeah. So it's not that there's not a time and place for that other type of support. And I'm not trying to pick on like the lactation community. I'm just pointing out, that was just an easy thing for me to recall, to point out that it can be hard to build your own village because it seems like everyone is qualified to help you, but in reality, they're not. Like, you have to really get past the marketing and get past, what's another way to say it? It's just like a really good, I don't know. Another example is just when you search for a swaddle or something. Now you're all of a sudden seeing like 10 different swaddles that you have to buy. It's easy to prey on moms in this season. Like we're on our phones, we're up in the middle of the night. Like we have problems that we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve these problems as fast as possible. And like, if you can find a product or a service that's going to fix it for you super fast, then yeah, we're going to sign up for that. But unfortunately, quick fixes are not usually the things that are actually going to fix the problems.
Well, what I hope is that we can become a village to support moms early in momhood, and that we become part of that support system so that they have those resources, and we become we bring on people that can be trusted and have that evidence-based, updated expertise on topics that are relevant to, moms and early momhood. So,
yeah.
Anyways, let us be in your village.
Yes, for sure.
Love it.
And before you go, I do want to ask you a favor. If you have enjoyed listening to Erica and I on this podcast and you're excited about what we're going to be talking about in the future, will you please text your best friend this episode and tell her to give us a listen? And if you have time, if you don't mind going to leave us a review and let us know what you liked. We are newbies to podcasting, and the purpose here is really to serve you. Plus, your reviews will make our podcast more findable for other moms, and that will help them join in on these candid conversations.
That's great. Well, Hillary, I think it's time. We've got to let these ladies get back to momming. So until next week, we'll see you later.
See you later. Thanks for listening to the Early Momming Podcast. Before you go, can I ask you a favor? If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and you're excited about what we'll be talking about in the future, please text your best friend this episode and tell her to give us a listen. And if you have time, do you mind going to leave us a review? Let us know what you liked. We are here to serve you. Plus, your reviews will make our podcast more findable for other moms to be able to join in on these candid conversations. Shout out to our sound guy, Kyle Moore, who makes it way easier to listen to us. And if you need to get in touch with us, send us an email at podcast@babysettler.com or send us a DM at Early Momming Podcast on Instagram. All right, we'll see you next time.